You're listening to the AstroMommy Daily Horoscope, a forecast that hopes to shine a light in the dark, helping us all see where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. Whether you're a first-time listener or a long-time subscriber, thanks for being here. I truly appreciate you being in the AstroMommy community. I hope you enjoyed today's horoscope and card reading. If you would like to support the AstroMommy Newsletter, there are several ways to do so. Subscribe on Substack, share it with a friend, schedule a reading, check out my family's Etsy shop, Metaphysical Flamingo, or just leave a tip. Without further ado, here is the Daily Horoscope. Reflections on the school shooting in Tennessee and Mars, plus the Daily Horoscope, first quarter moon. Daily Horoscope for Tuesday, March 28th, 2023. Good morning, friends. Well, today is a sad day, and my heart and prayers go out to those who lost a loved one in the most recent school shooting in Tennessee yesterday. Looking at the astrology from yesterday in retrospect, a few things stand out. Mars in Cancer is forming 4 aspects that seem to speak to this tragic incident. First, Mars is in an applying square from the Sun, representing a crisis point. Second, Mars is forming a quincunx to Pluto in Aquarius, indicating something estranged, penetrating, and going through a death. Pluto can also represent deep psychological issues. Third, Mars is in an applying trine with Saturn, the greater malefic, who is currently in the sign of Pisces, the fishes, which literally swim in schools, and Pisces represents the merging of the spiritual with the physical, and Saturn in that place can represent organized religion, authority, and structure. All of these things combined describe the Christian school where the shooting took place. Fourth, Mars is in a semi-square to Uranus and Taurus in the 12th house of self-undoing, perfecting today, indicating a possible unexpected event involving violence and hospitals. And I believe that the semi-square represents something happening that was not intended by the shooter. In this case, the shooter was killed in the process. I think this outcome is also indicated by Mars in trine with Saturn. That trine represents easy access for violence, and it also represents swift apprehension of the offender, Mars, by the authorities, Saturn. Trines mean there are no blocks in the way, and the energy can flow freely. So unfortunately, the shooter was able to enter the school by force, but with relative ease, and then within about 14 minutes, the police had arrived and shot the shooter. Below is the chart of the first emergency call received by the police at 10:13 a.m. Central Daylight Time. You can see all of the aspects Mars is making illustrated by the aspect lines in the chart. It's not always enough to show that Mars is making several aspects to other planets to predict an incident like this, but couple all of these aspects with the fact that Mars is in Cancer in his fall, and you have a really nasty Mars on your hands when it comes to mundane astrology. This is not to say that Mars in Cancer in a natal chart manifests in this way, for mundane astrology and natal astrology are looked at differently. In mundane astrology, a fallen planet is usually a short-lived aspect that results in more acute events, but in a birth chart, the native has a lifetime to work through whatever issues the fallen planet may bring up in their psyche and in their experience of life. Astrologer Valerie Vaughn wrote an interesting piece about the astrology of school shootings on stariq.com, in which she said that, quote, one of the classic astrological indicators of violence is a hard aspect, such as a conjunction or opposition, between the Sun and Mars, the planet of aggression. And one feature we might expect in charts of violent events is aspects, significant angular relationships, between any two of the 3 planets, Mars, war, anger, Saturn, rules, structure, and Pluto, power, unquote. All 3 of these classic indicators were present yesterday. So it is a bit hard to just write the horoscope this morning, but here goes. Let's get into the astrology. In the middle of the night last night, Mercury in Aries conjoined Jupiter in Aries, and this is positive energy towards making a plan and implementing that plan. Mercury represents your environment, the way you communicate and travel, and in Aries this means that you may want to initiate changes in your environment, communicate more quickly and to the point, and you may feel the urge to go places, locally or long distance, to effectuate such changes. Jupiter in Aries is about being positive and looking at the big picture, making grand plans about what you want to do and where you want to go. So today there is a lot of positive energy that can be used to further those plans and even set out on a grand adventure. We've been feeling this transit as it has been building over the last few days, and we will feel it for the rest of the week as it dissipates. The other big thing today is that the moon moved out of Gemini and ingressed into the sign of Cancer this morning at 6:21 a.m. Eastern Time, and now she is co-present with Mars and will conjoin Mars by 9:19 a.m. Eastern Time. She has not met up with Mars in Cancer since May 16th, 2021. Then she will form her first quarter square to the Sun in Aries at 10:32 p.m. Eastern Time. Before she conjoins Mars, the moon will form a quincunx to Pluto at 6:31 a.m. Eastern Time. This explains my deep dive into the school shooting. And after the conjunction to Mars, the moon makes a semi-square to Uranus and Taurus at 9:35 a.m. Eastern Time. indicating something unexpected or sudden, throwing you off emotionally. Probably my newsletter, which you hope will be uplifting, but today kind of sucks because it's depressing. Oh yeah, and I also killed my teapot. I don't know if you saw that post, but I killed my teapot. Go check it out. Then the moon forms a trine to Saturn in Pisces at 11:03 a.m. Eastern Time, representing serious feelings coming about that are easy to access, or a bittersweet situation in which you're happy that something is happening but also sad that it's changing. At 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time, Mars in Cancer forms a semi-square to Uranus in Taurus, again, as I said earlier, indicating a sudden, unexpected event that could involve tragedy, violence, rage, and end in a way that is not intended. This energy has been building more acutely since Mars made his ingress into Cancer on March 25th, 2023. And finally, at 10:32 p.m. Eastern Time, the moon in Cancer forms the first quarter square to the sun in Aries at 8 degrees Cancer, 8 minutes. The square aspect between the moon and the sun indicates a crisis point where the environment and the plotline have tension and stress, and individuating becomes difficult but necessary. So it's an action point. Something happens and is initiated. The wheels start to turn and things get going, sometimes with growing pains. This first quarter phase, coupled with Mercury and Jupiter conjoined, could be a very positive omen of getting your plans figured out and underway. So on an optimistic note, we can use the energy of today to get things going and take the next step in whatever project we are doing. For example, I just bought a book titled The Well-Educated Mind, A Guide to the Classical Education You Never Had, by Susan Wise Bauer, a home education expert, whom I deeply enjoy reading and following her sound, experienced advice on homeschooling. In this book, she promises that the reader will learn how to, quote, read challenging novels or complex historical arguments with ease and understanding, unquote. That is my hope, so I am embarking on a journey of self-education. Well, I have already been on that journey, but my hope is that this book will guide me along in a more organized way, and Susan Wise Bauer is a joy to read, so it will be a fun and inspiring journey for my mind, heart, and hopefully improve my own writing as well, for as author James Scott Bell said, quote, good writers are good readers, unquote. Let's move on to the card for the day. What is the guidance for today? 21, Il Mondo, the world. On this card, we see an old leather boot, laces partly untied, and a cracked tongue drooping out. The toe of the boot is split open, revealing a small globe. The edges of the boot are worn, and pieces of the world map are showing through where the leather is thin. 21 Il Mondo, the world card, is all about achievement and success. It's about coming full circle and feeling a sense of completion, reaching the highest potential on this plane of existence, and it is now time to move on to the sphere of heaven. The boot in this image has definitely reached its highest potential and seen the world. It literally has the whole world in its grasp. At first, I thought this was a weird image for the world card because I associate the world card with riches, success, and happiness, which is a very subjective idea and to me doesn't usually look like an old worn out boot. But then it dawned on me, this boot does show wealth, a wealth of experiences, and it does show success because of all the landscapes and terrains the wearer wore this boot over, which is a big accomplishment for a boot. And this boot does show happiness because the person obviously loved their boots so much to wear them till the very end. How many times have we done that, right? Worn something way past its prime because we loved it so much? My kids do this all the time. So as the guidance for the day, I feel the meaning of this card is to live life to the fullest and wear it out, so to speak. Allow each and every crack in the leather of your life boots to tell a story. Relish in those stories, for that's all we really have in the end. Stuff gets old and rots away like this boot, but our stories can live on longer than we do. So tell your stories to people, write them down, sing them as a song, a poem, or leave them as a message on a voicemail. Share your stories and live life to its fullest. Let me know if this reading resonates with you in the comments. I hope this is helpful. Until Thursday, AstroMommy.
Thank you for reading or listening to the Daily Horoscope. Quick links and resources can be found at the bottom of the newsletter. Today's card was pulled from The Fantastic Shoes by Osvaldo Menegazzi, available on Amazon. If you seek knowledge and enlightenment, the AstroMommy Newsletter may be right for you. Side effects of reading or listening to the AstroMommy Newsletter are common and include joy, jubilation, delight, happiness, gratitude, love, triumph, feeling in tune with the universe, experiencing deep insights, reflections, and contemplations, a lightened soul, a lighter step, feeling awake when others are asleep, illuminated, enlightened, having spiritual experiences, noticing repeating numbers, animals in nature, or songs on the radio that speak to you, getting vibes, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsmelliance, feeling like you know secret language, biophilia, crying tears of joy, emotional literacy, feeling lively, stable, exalted, having an auric glow, or feeling like you woke up on the right side of the bed have all been reported. If you purchase anything through the affiliate links that I provide in the newsletters, I will make a very small commission. Thanks for listening.